Oh, okay. Shalom, shalom. Blessings and peace up unto all of you this day. Let's get this live started up. All right, so we look like we're doing all right right here. We look like we're doing all right. Blessings and peace be unto you. It is your brother Yashair, and this is Yashair's perspective on Yashair Shakudari, where we chop it up about the things that are going on in the breast with those that are considered FBAs, those that are considered AA, African American, those that are considered Black. So today's video, we're going to do as we have continued to do. We're going to review some audio clips, some visual clips, and then we're going to give our perspective. The door is open for the chat if you have anything that you would like to add to the conversation that is at hand. What have we gotten from this last 100-year period? What have we lost within this last 100-year period? What are the pros? What are the cons as it stands out, as it pertains to you? So, with that, we are going to start our audio and we're going to get into this session and this portion of the video where we're going to start off with some audio, and then after that, we shall give our perspective. So, with that being said, let us begin. Is that echoing? Let me know if that's echoing on y'all. Mm. Now, for me, in this last 100-year period, that has been something that has been glowingly. Unfortunately, hold on, we got some audio coming through. Where this double audio coming from? Give me a second, because now I gotta figure out where this double audio coming from. I might have to mute that. That's so funny. Shout out to y'all that stand by. Give me a second. We're working on these technical difficulties. Like I gotta clear it out. So 1 second. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So this be the best part about when you be going live and you be having technical difficulties and you be like, bruh, in your mind you endeavor to be the consummate professional, but it's a lie and these moments be happening. And for me, these be the moments where I be watching live, I be dying laughing. But the train of thought still, as it says, shout out, what's up everybody? This last 100-year period for Black people, or those who are considered FBA, those who are considered African American, right? As we got into our audio clip, the audio clip is why can't we unite? And for me, that has been an issue that has been glowingly exemplified, especially within the last 40-year period. And it's been an issue that has been hotly contested and hotly talked about, and rightfully so. However, the mindset or the things that are like objectively just looked over is becoming sickening at this point. as a collective and for individuals. Like, it's at the point where it's like stone delusion, right? But let us continue on with our audio. Hop in. If you want to jump into the live, if you want to jump to the chat, let me know. Let's continue. And again, this was then, right? Well, come on, somebody. We're going to stop right there for a second. There was a lot that was said so far. So, with that being said, right, the organizations, as the video and as our audio clip first started, let me get these ears up. Man, I'm mad I lost my other earbuds. Not lost, but left. Not lost, but left. Okay, so, like I was saying, with the organizations that have been created, these organizations have implemented themselves and rooted themselves within our communities at a price and at a cost. Because not everyone that gives you something doesn't want anything in return. Come on, somebody. We've been living in New Babylon since we've been living in New Babylon from the inception, right? And with that, nothing is free. Nothing's ever been free. And it's always came at a cost, and it's always came at a cost that has been at our expense. So, when these organizations and when these companies have come on the seeming olive branch of bipartisanship, of community, of wanting to help out, how has that actually benefited us? And what ideologies have we taken on? Case in point, as they were talking about Antifa and how it sees the structure of the family. Well, the structure of the family now here in New Babylon or America has greatly changed. It is no longer the patriarchal system. It is now under the covenant of the matriarchal system. And in my humble opinion, it has caused a lot of issues because of that thought process and that shift. And it's not to sound bigoted or sexist. However, as we continued on, the sister spoke about the housing arrangement that was set up, what specifically for FBAs and those who wish to acquire government assistance. With that being said, it greatly and vastly caused a corrosion of the family unit. And it is one of, in its implementation, the dumbest things that was created. However, that conversation seemingly is one of those topics that gets glossed over. Let's continue. Has it been Shalom, Brother K? Shalom, shalom, shalom. Blessings to the Brother K for stopping by the live. I appreciate you, brother. I know you want to schedule. It's good to see you up in here. Have we seen the same level of supposed surface level assistance given to melanated men historically as it has been supposedly surface level presented to melanated women? And this isn't to contrast, this is just to speak about facts on how the division has corroded, but what it really was meant to do while corroding, right? I guess it's an oxymoron around, but you get my point, right? But those who were benefiting, in a sense, I wouldn't say benefiting, but those who were using, those who were, yeah, they were benefiting. from this said system, from this said support, the mindsets that started to permeate, the mindsets that started to become embraced, that became normalized. These are some of the ills that have continued now on auto drive within this 100-year period. But again, to focalize on what have we lost, what have we gained. This inception of the Urban League and housing assistance for specifically the communities which were spoken about within our topic, it was set up and we've had these conversations. These conversations are now known, except we act as though with the mentality collectively as if it didn't cause the destruction that it's caused for the destructive reason to cause confusion, to cause division, to cause individualization of the community, of the family. So, as I was saying, has black men, foundational African American men, melanated men, been given the same assistance, government assistance, whether it be living arrangements if they had children, if they had medical issues, if they were of meager financial means, economic means, which again, that conversation we're going to get into is even, have they been given the same opportunity? The answer is no. And we know the answer is no. Why is that? There has been a collective agenda to continue to topple the hierarchy only in our structure in our family setting, to cause chaos, lawlessness, and this. Let's go. Beneficent. Shout out to Mateo for jumping in. What's up, Mateo? That part right there. Using the energy within the home setting. This is now directed to our female audience in the wrong manner. But that has been promoted, that has been taught, and that has been the only example. And then it's been glorified on the propaganda tube called television and movie, right? So, a people who have dealt with traumatic issues and then have had bad influencing and thus have now become to embrace and exemplify them influencing. This is where we at right now. We no longer believe over here in America that you need a man and a woman. We no longer believe in our community, black community, foundational African American community, whichever way you would like to articulate it in your humble opinion. I mean, no disrespect. That it takes two. Remember the song "It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right"? It really does take two. There's a male and there's a female energy, and it's definitely necessary. However, within our community, because we have hearkened to the ears of the Prince of the Air, lawlessness has abounded, and a lot of children, a lot of families have been started in deplorable states, with no one to blame but ourselves, collectively and individually. And this isn't to throw salt. This isn't to kick white persons down. This is to right the ship that if we don't really get to the nitty gritty of the things that have been plaguing us, extinction is on the docket because individualism has been so and now embraced. And no individual can stand against the nations. Come on, somebody. We spoke on that. Mr. Khan, what's happening with you? Wilmer Cardona, what's happening with you? Well, with that was being said by Sister Erica. The collective mindset is that's not true, and that's cap. She had picked me. First and foremost, this is how the delusion has affected our people. Do you know a pick me was a racist term, a derogatory term from off the picnic game? Pick a Negro, but Negro wasn't what they were saying. And then you would say a woman who is submissive to the understanding that I need a husband to help with my children and to fare through this biscuit behind world is a pick me. Again, the things and the way that the shift in our culture has happened has been definitely, it's just been destructive, unfortunately. And it's not being um, spoken about collectively. There are individuals, and hence that's the thing about these individuals, right? Their voices have been drowned out by those who ride the short bus. Forgive me. When we used to be in these schools here in New Babylon, America, there was a hierarchy of separation, unfortunately, because we all learn at different paces. There's nothing wrong with that. Some of our auditory learning, some of us are more kinetic in our learning, some of us are more visual in our learning. Unfortunately, America has not really carved out a school system or educational system to meet the needs of each individual as it pertains to what is their best strength. But that's not what that was set up for, and we know that none of those who endeavor to look into it know that now. With that being said, those who were in this school system and what you got from this school system, you weren't taught how to delineate with these issues that you're now seemingly dealing with and we have been now seemingly dealing with in life. So, listening to the sister speak about how when brothers have been held accountable, when have they not been held accountable, when have they not been held to the highest standard uh, of manhood, of what it means to be a man, while also acknowledging and knowing that these things have been marginalized, these things have been redlined, these things have been the goalposts moved consistently historically to keep this from being a fruition, to keep this from being an arriving point. But that same level of scrutiny, that same level of accountability has not been presented on our female counterparts. And because of it, it has birthed a hubris that has equally been um, responsible for the disengagement and the destruction of our families. You can hear that statement or statements like that like a thousand times, and it is true. But the collective response and the collective acknowledgement of doing the work to make this the reality, the new reality moving forward, because again, individuals can't stand up to nations. And we are now been propagandized so much that we willingly walk around like a bunch of individuals. So why do we have to be on islands? But that's an interesting point because now that segues into this. Would you consider yourself bourgeois? I wouldn't consider myself bourgeois, but now as I've gotten older, certain things I can't get down with as it pertains to what I can and what I can stomach with my people, with my women, with my brothers. Certain behaviors and certain mindsets is just beneath me, and I find it like disgusting. And I'm saying to myself, am I bougie? Did I become old and better than that? But that's not my heart. It's not my spirit. It's not that I think that I'm better than anybody. My heart goes out daily for my people in the condition that they're in. But the things that we engage in and the mindsets that we have, I gotta step away from. So when the sister said, when do we have to separate from each other? There has been a mindset that has been permeating within this last 100 years, specifically uh, this last 70 years, that has been cancerous to melanated men or black men. And it has been so cancerous that, for preservation's sake, brothers have started to distance themselves away from melanated women because the energy and the disdain has been so radicalized that it's become like it's a throne in the spiritual world, and it really has to be addressed, in my humble opinion. If you got any thoughts, please leave your comments in here. Say what's up. Press that like button. Press a couple hearts for your brother. Let's continue with Erica, and we're gonna continue on with our lesson. Layers, right? Everything in context. You got to be strong to live over here in America, point blank, period. And you definitely got to be strong if you consider yourself what we consider yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that is layered because in this nation, the weak get run over. They get looked uh, away from. You know what I'm saying? They're invisible. You can see them, but you don't see them. No one comes to the defense. So to survive, you better have some level of grit. But hasn't that always been the template of our people until it wasn't? So, like I got away from, but I'm back. Bourgeoisie, the thought process and the things that we accept, the things that are okay, the things that are detrimental, but we don't say anything about. When did you hit that point in your life? Because I hit that point, I want to say like around 27, 28. I was already tempered in my thought process, just considering the type of person that I was. I didn't have to be around a large crowd because I was comfortable in my individualism. You know what I'm saying? Like I was taught to be me, and being me, I could be around, and I didn't have to be around, and it didn't bother me. I didn't feel less than, right? I didn't feel like I needed to always have an audience. I didn't feel like I always needed to have somebody tagging along or to tag along with somebody. But with that being said, the whole process or the whole thought process for me in this thing as it continues on is we have to do some serious internalization, self internalization. And if we don't do this serious internalization, I feel like there's no coming back because individualism has been accepted so much. Because within this last 100-year period, I think we've lost more than we've gained. I don't think that we have ascended. I think we have forgotten a lot of the standing posts that made us who we were. And I think that because of things were now not passed along, we are in a shipping sink that is greatly like it's like the tip of it is like the only thing that's that. And unless we start building like it's what's that game called Minecraft? Not Minecraft for that reason. Fortnite. Unless you start building like Fortnite, we're going down. But we're gonna continue. We got a lot to cover today, so let's go. I just said that. I just said that. Strong, independent. Yeah, together, together. If we don't, everybody else is linked up but us. Everybody else got the squad but us. I'm getting tired right now of seeing each other kill each other on here, killing their kids, starving their kids. Like, yo, this time right now that's happening, it's a lot that's unfolding. And it's a lot for folks that are paying attention as far as the separation state. So is it bougie to start separating from people who are actively aggressive in how you live your life, actively husky in how you interact on a day-to-day basis because they just lost in their mind. They have no peace. Like let me ask you this question. I don't know. I'm asking. Say you moved out of the city and you got a nice house that you have been working towards getting because you said I'm tired of the city life. It's getting aggressive. They're not picking up the trash. People parking in my parking spot. I can't never, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of noise, a lot of death, a lot of violence. And you move out into the suburbs or a quieter area. You there now, let's go like 4 months. In that 4 months, you move like coming from the spring into the summertime. Your lawn then grew up. You haven't gotten around to cutting your lawn because where you were from, you're from inside the concrete jungle. You didn't have a lawn. You had the backyard, and the backyard was just a little box. All you had to do was take the weed whacker out. It's done. Now you got a whole yard, but you haven't cut your grass. Just moved there. You're just getting into your new digs for a month. Knock at the door. You go to the door. It's your neighbor. You think, and you're like, yeah, I can help you. And they're like, hey, I'm such and such. I'm your neighbor. See you guys moved in. Um, wanted to come over and say hello to you and let you know what I mean? See if you need anything. I also wanted to let you know we cut our lawn around here. And for the last couple of months since you guys moved in, your lawn hasn't been cut. Now, immediately hearing that from the city, like, who is you? Right? That energy right there. Who is you? Because in this mindset, you just came out the city. And you be damned if you let anybody tell you about what you're going to do on your property that you just paid all this good money for. It's yours. Back all the way up and go do what you want to do and go sit down. But in the community, everybody's paid to make sure that their homes are cut in uniformity because that's what they wanted. That's what they moved here for. That uniformity, that cohesive. We take our trash out on the same day. It gets picked up on the same day. Everything looks clean. Everything looks neat. Do you understand how those things contrast right there? Contrast, excuse my French. Because of the mindsets that have been exemplified within the urban setting and how it has greatly hindered the things that we want. Now, here's the other aspect. You ever seen them houses in the hood where someone endeavors to take care of their little piece of whatever they have? They got their little fence up, they got their little grass cut, they got their little, you could tell that they are appreciative and they're trying to steward over what they have. Why isn't that the norm? Why does the homes that were spoken about by Sister Charizard earlier in the public setting not appreciated like they could be and not look like the hellholes that they have become? And it's layered, don't get me wrong, because there has been marginalization that has taken place by those who have owned this property. But to that point, those who have been stewards over and those who have been benefiting from that, that has not been the mindset that has permeated in the 70 years, and that has been lost. How to keep a home, the mindset, the pride of your house and your neighborhood. For so many people who put so much stock on, you're from this area, you're from that area, you're from this state, you're from that state, but there's no pride in how it's conducted or what it looks like. Come on, let's continue. Mm. Shout out to everybody that got a chance to join. Appreciate you. If you stop by and you still here, press that heart and like button. I appreciate you. That's right. How come we'll talk about that? Giving up something. Let's talk about that. In this day and age, what we know about right now, in this day and age, this is 2025. Nothing comes free. Do you all recall that time when Dave Chappelle said that you got to wear a dress if you wanted to be super duper famous? Anybody recall that? Put a one in the chat if you recall that. If you're still here, if you're not here, we'll continue on. But I would like to know if anybody recalls that. Seemingly, has anybody seen or been paying attention to the things that have come out, considering what uh, fame and celebrity costs, and how those who seemingly have stuck their hand out to it have totally marked themselves with many, many sorrows. But we act like this stuff isn't known. We act like the hijacking of what was considered hip hop or rap has not been degraded into the most deplorable state of audio sound that, like, is horrible right now. We have mindsets that they spoke of where only our women said that they need a man to have six figures, 6 foot, 6 inches, la di da da da. When they know historically that that wasn't the history or reality for their fathers, their grandfathers, their grandfathers' grandfather, their grandfathers, and so on. Nobody in your lineage had that. Why should you make that the measuring point when you know that wasn't something obtainable? And if by chance that they did obtain the things that you had to do to get it, the destruction, because everyone that became the little millionaires in the hood from selling dope during the 80s, it came at a cost to the rest of our families. Like, because we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the people who are willing to destroy our families for their enjoyment and their pockets. I've never been had a mindset that I wanted to destroy my own people, or that I wanted to profit or get over or use at the advantage of people who look like me, because you around the same area I'm at. You grew up, you go into the same conditions. Why would I want to take from you? That'd be like somebody taking from me. But that is what happened. And then we end up turning around and glorifying those who did it. As the sister said earlier, there are mothers, there are girlfriends, there are wives, there are brothers, cousins, whomever that have profited from illicit gains. When did the mindset of embraceable of that type of energy become the supposed norm for our people? When did this rebellious spirit really take root? I would venture off to say this last 100-year period has been one of the most detrimental periods for our people. Let's continue. Well, That's right. Unfortunately. Mm-hmm. That's right. Do you remember that time? Do you recall that time? Mm. Well, did that not happen? Did that not happen? Did we not see the rise of that? Let's pause all that. Hold on. Did we not see the rise of our homes being infiltrated by the system when parents endeavored to correct their kids about the behavior that is now rampant across the nation? They start throwing folks in jail. You remember that? You remember when they started really getting husky on parents for getting on your kids? And you say that these things weren't planned? This dissolution of family values, family structure, family understanding? Are you saying that this wasn't purposely planned because folks were thrown in jail and the fear of being thrown in jail is what caused folks to stop correcting their children? And then the lawlessness started to abound, the recklessness started to abound, and more we started to see folks younger and younger committing atrocities because parents were scared that this could cost me my livelihood. Being the parent that I am trying to be, stewarding over this child that I clearly see the behaviors have become a bit much. Now, that's an issue that we like to continue, and rightfully so, highlight what's going on with these parents when we see these flash mobs of kids. But we have conveniently forgotten that there was a big push to arrest parents, to prosecute parents, a big wave and a big push to diminish the family for holding accountable and structuring properly their children. Oh, this is mental abuse. If you tell your child that this is wrong, and if you put your child on punishment, even if you pop your child in the back of the head, there's a certain thing about how they started to radicalize parenting over here. Let's continue. Mm, that's right. That's right. Has that not been the truth? That's correct. Mm-hmm. Are we still playing for some of these companies that have not given back to us? We won't even have that conversation about how the way that the nation is going, the economic downturn, the way that some of the cities, some of the roads, some of the infrastructure is been deteriorated, outdated. For these companies that we have over here, none of them have given back to the pot, to the people who have made them the conglomerate mega corporations that they are right now. And it's crazy how we don't collectively hold them accountable for that. It's crazy because these companies have never come to your community to build up a playground, a community center, skate ring, laundromat, market. What's this for them? To start a market or food pantry in your neighborhood, in your municipality, in your county. That's a tax write-off. But with that, it also ingratiates them within and connects them to their consumer. We haven't seen that. And why don't we see that? That's an issue, right? But let's continue. Come on. Well, well. Mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. So right there, before we let the pastor continue, plus his heart, shout out to Pastor Darby and his family and all that the brother has done and endeavored to do in the spirit of righteousness. The glorification of that deaf culture, that dis culture. Now, when he spoke this was before drill music took off to become what we know it to be now. It was before all them kids were murdered. That drill music, unfortunately, had glorified those who are partaking in that culture to commit. And he was speaking about how, at that time, an event occurred and two boys were killed. And it ended up being one of the guys that they used to hang out with, who, in his endeavoring to be a rap artist, spoke about killing other people that looked like him. And then that ultimately ends up being the reason, one of the reasons, that throughout the course of glorifying it in song, his mind and his spirit is desensitized to actually doing it to those who were in close proximity. One would maybe consider them friends or associates, but This spirit and this lawlessness that has continued to permeate over the culture and over the youth right now, it has robbed them of their humanity and of their understanding, because again, children with no understanding act just like animals. I hate to say it in that regard, but the mental awareness of humanity is lost in the pleasures and survivability of life. And because they are of a youthful mental impression, the only thing that matters is what they think in their mind, and not um, the connection to the bigger picture, which is community and people. Let's continue. Do you agree with that statement? Do you agree with that statement? True. This is true. Horrible. Horrible. Who taught you to hate yourself? Why is that? Because indoctrination. I remember this one back, and I looked at when I thought, shout out to Brother Humble, and I saw him, he just roasted up a recent video. He said, what period was the best period? Was it the 80s? Was it the 90s? Was it the 2000s? I recently went back and looked at some shows from the 80s, specifically 80s cartoons, 80s Saturday morning cartoon lineup. And when I was doing that, one of the glaring things that stood out to me, which I've always known, it's always been the reality, but looking back at it now, one of the things that stood out to me was when you watch these lineups, some of them have the commercials in there. And in these commercials, there were no representation of what you call African American, foundationally Black Americans, Black, whatever you want to call it. Very, very scarce. I mean, extremely scarce, despite them being a major populace within the nation at that time. So, this imagery that the pastor was talking about and the embrace of self hate has been one of the consistent agendas that have taken place within this 100-year period. And within this last 70-year period, has gone and kicked into an overdrive that has, I don't know if it's really being received collectively or how detrimental it has greatly shifted the landscape of with uh, the collective think and how they think about themselves, look at themselves, view ideologies, whether they be beneficial or problematic. Let's continue, Bass. Mm. It has, but now it's embraced. Hmm. Has that not been happening? Has that not been happening? And has it now been embraced? It's taught. It's nothing that our people be quick to do than to rise up on a sister or brother that they perceive disrespecting them or not, or offending them, or not letting them rob them. Now I see some footage, unfortunately to our shame, where there are some folks who are committing crimes against hardworking people who look just like them, and then gonna get mad because the people are fighting for their property, and you take their life. Who are you to go and snuff out somebody's life because they don't want to give up what they worked hard for? And then you still want to be considered or amongst the people or part of the collective. It's this type of mindset and these type of actions that have eroded the trust within the community, have eroded the trust within the family structure. Because again, some of us are 30 pieces of silver behind folk. And it's time that we need to identify with them because moving forward, we can't walk together. Do you believe that? Do we understand how that last 100 years has really affected us? Has anyone been able to really look at how it's changed from we shall overcome, lift every voice and sing, to what it is today? Sisters setting men up to go to jail for crimes they didn't commit willingly. That used to be a narrative that was associated with a whole different group of people. But within this last 100-year period, a mega shift has happened. And now those who were also victimized by this mentality and this action have embraced it and started doing it to their own counterparts. But we're not in strong delusion, right? This is the doll test with your children. She picked the white doll. She picked the white doll. You hear the music? She picked the black doll. You hear that? The mindsets. And this was back then in the 80s. But that mindset has been accepted and even more so embraced. Come on, somebody. Mm-hmm. See how to throw them jokes out there? It's been a lot of propaganda and a lot of trickery going on too about the Israelite community for quite some time. And unfortunately, a lot of camps and assemblies have yet to do the proper research to see where that lie started, to see why it was started. Now, again, it's a reason on how certain information is presented. And unfortunately, if you only go with the surface level reasoning, you'll miss a lot of the meat and potatoes, which is happening. Excuse me, let's continue. Well, but she ain't hear him though. She ain't hear him though. She ain't hear him. B9. Mm. As you can see, that conversation about how we look at spirituality, how we look at ourselves, it's even in that realm. It has been in that realm, unfortunately. But we're not here for that conversation because it's a long and a vast one. Let's continue on about this 100-year period, right? The pros and the cons that we gotten from this last 100-year period and how it's greatly affected us. I was hoping we have a little bit more interaction this video from some others who will be able to give their perspective and give their points on the things that we've lost because I feel like we've lost the ability to remember who we were from the past. I know that we have lost the ability to connect with each other. I remember when we used to walk down the street, we used to speak to each other, we used to nod, we used to acknowledge, we used to say what's up. Those things are gone now. And it truly is saddening to me to see how the energy has shifted to where it truly looks like a caricature of an episode of the Boondocks. Like we live in an episode of the Boondocks now, and it's sickening to me, unfortunately. That's why I said earlier, I feel like I've now become a bourgeoisie type person because I can't get down with ignorance. I can't get down with aggression within ignorance and a deplorable, defeated mindset that is complacent with destruction, especially in the areas that one normally inhabitates, as one would call or consider the hood, right? Fix these ear sets. So, where we at with our audio? Hmm. Oh, okay, so it's just off right now. That's cool. So, we're going to take a pause, and then when we come back, we're going to hit on what happened within the last 70 years within this 100-year period, starting around the civil rights era and then working our way down to where we are currently right now. So, if you could give me a second, let me get some things together, take a break, and then we'll pick this live back up and we will pick up from the 70s. How's that sound? I hope everything is going well with all today as we continue to, uh, in my humble opinion, focus on some of the more problematic issues of today. And for those who have ears to hear, look to make that pivot and then link up with those in these up and coming troubling times of the like of the same mind because again, we can't walk with everybody. It's just not.